Hi and welcome. So today I want to share with you how food and your mood impacts your emotional eating. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist specializing in emotional eating. And I wanted to talk about this because when we are emotional eaters, our relationship to food is usually really disconnected. We have had this battle with food because we go to food to sort of soothe us. We feel out of control with it and we don't know how to truly connect with it. And if I think back to my own journey with emotional eating, I was really disconnected from food. I just thought I was out of control with food. I didn't know how to control food or my body. And so I was looking to all of these diets and these things externally to me to tell me what foods to eat. So I didn't have a connection to food. I didn't know how foods felt in my body. I was just sort of going by this outside template, not really knowing how to tune into my body and how it felt, because my goal was just to look a certain way. And so sometimes it didn't matter how food tasted, how it was for me. But as I moved through my journey, I realized that I needed to have a better connection to food. I wanted to have a healthier relationship to food. I didn't want food to be an enemy. And this is a piece of the puzzle in resolving your emotional eating. So a lot of the times when I am, working with women and I'm looking at their relationship to food, the place that we start is I have them keep a food and mood journal. And this is important for a few reasons. First, I want to see how they're typically eating, because a lot of the times we think that we're eating in a certain way. And usually there's so much nutritional noise, we think we know what's healthy. And it's not to say that we might not have an idea, but when I look at it, I can see holes in it because, of course, my background is in holistic nutrition, and I have a certain way that I love my clients, that I want my clients to focus on in order to create this relationship to food. And so I'm giving them a structure to flow from. The second reason we're keeping this is to see, how much foods that we're eating. Are we really nourishing ourselves? And the third reason is to see when our emotional eating pattern is popping up. So it gives us a lot of information. And the fourth is just to see how we feel with certain foods. So if we are eating, usually we can see if we are binging or overeating, we're going to feel a certain way. Or if we had something that we thought was healthy in the morning, but we have a crappy mood after, it can indicate that that food is not best for us. It's not digesting well, no matter what the nutritional noise says out there. And so a food and mood journal is really important. And so usually in the past with clients, what's happened is that whenever they've kept a food journal, it's about macros and calories and punishing themselves. And they don't know how to use this as a tool to gain insight and awareness of their patterns. And so they're very hesitant and resistant to this. But this is not about judging yourself. It's about becoming aware of yourself and getting into that acceptance of this is where I'm at, to really seeing what's been going on. Because if, a lot of the times when we have this emotional eating pattern, we have a lot of shame. We hide from others. We hide from ourselves. And what we think we know about ourselves, we actually are not looking directly at ourselves. And it can be scary because the moment we actually look at what we're eating and doing, a lot of self-judgment can come up. And so we need to be in a really safe space and be going through a process so that that self-judgment of looking at what we're eating, not just thinking about it, doesn't spiral us into further shame and emotional eating pattern. So a food and mood journal is important for a few reasons. And this is where we can start developing our relationship to food by seeing how foods feel in our body, by noticing if we tried certain strategies, how foods are digesting, how foods are tasting to us, what feels good to us, and what works for us. A lot of the times when we are emotional eaters, we also have food rules. We have ways of being with food that are restrictive, that we shouldn't eat this much food, and we might have inherited that from our parents or caregivers, from society. And so there are all of these rules that start popping up in the way we might think we're eating that is healthy or nourishing, and it's not necessarily the case. So a food and mood journal can give us tons of insights. The two main things that I look at it, or probably the three, are how are foods digesting? What is your Are you nourishing yourself enough throughout the day? And where are your emotional triggers? And so, of course, everyone that comes into the Emotional Eating Evolution program, we are working to shift to optimize the way they're eating so that it is optimized for digestion. It's optimized for mood, and we're really pinpointing where those emotional eating triggers are. Because if we are in deprivation or restriction mode from dieting, that can still trigger us into binging because our brain is obsessing about food and we constantly are thinking about food because we are restricting ourselves and we're not getting the amount of energy and calories we need throughout the day. And then if we're undernourishing ourselves, that can trigger a lot of stress responses. And then of course the emotional eating pattern. So we want to look at all areas that are popping up. So what I want to say with foods as we're optimizing them, the reason that we want to optimize our digestion, and I have a specific way I teach inside of the Emotional Eating Evolution program of optimizing the way you digest foods, the way to create meals so that it is going to nourish you, you're going to feel good, it's going to help you satisfy those 4 components of hunger. All the how-tos and step-by-steps are in the program. But the main reason we're optimizing digestion as an overview is that when digestion is optimized, our digestion impacts our mood. And so if we look at it just from a food perspective, the foods we eat, the way we're digesting and feeling after meals indicates our mood. So if we're eating foods that don't agree with us or in a rush state or when we're emotionally eating, we're going to notice the impact on digestion. Digestion is important because in our small intestines, in our sort of colon, we house our microbiome. And so the bacteria there, hopefully it's 80% beneficial to us. They're breaking down foods. They are creating neurotransmitters. There's a lot going on in our digestive tract. And the digestive tract, our digestion is connected to our brain. There's actually a nerve, the vagus nerve, and it connects them. And so the neurotransmitters or whatever products we produce in the gut, they are in communication with the brain. So if we are producing neurotransmitters like serotonin, which about 95% is produced in the gut, and other things, that's how they communicate with the brain. That means we're having great digestion, everything's optimized. But if we are eating in a way where our digestion is poor, that means we're actually creating neurotoxins. So if we have incomplete digestion of proteins or fats or carbohydrates, if we have large pieces of food, the bacteria that are not so beneficial are going to feed off of that and produce what are called neurotoxins. And that's what can lead to brain fog and irritability and all of these things. And we're actually creating gas in our digestive system, which is a lot of physical discomfort. And so we have to look at digestion as a starting point, because when we eat, that's the first access point of food into our body. It's not inside of our body. So our digestive tract is actually external to our body, and the absorption of it into our body and assimilation that's when it's actually getting into our body. But if in that absorption process, there's a lot of hiccups, we are not going to be producing the things that are going to be beneficial to us. Is this everything around emotional eating? Is this going to solve your emotional eating? No, but this is one piece, and it's a key, and that's why emotional eating is so multi-layered. And this tends to be a factor because when we're emotional eaters, we are also eating in a stressful state. We're emotionally eating, so our digestive system is under a lot of stress, and that just compounds the issue. So food and mood are really interconnected. There's so much more in terms of the types of foods we're eating and how we're digesting it, the ways we digest, how we are actually looking at digestion. There are actually key steps to making sure you're digesting from a mechanical, physical level, from a timing issue, from a food perspective, from an emotional perspective. There's so much that goes into digestion. And so all of that is covered inside of the Emotional Eating Evolution program. But I hope this has given you more of an overview of the importance of digestion and the connection to food, and that we need to have awareness of this, not just for macros and calories and to judge ourselves, but to actually have awareness of our body and understanding of how this is playing a part. And this will help us understand ourselves more and soften into more acceptance of our body, knowing that it actually, we relate to food and it's this synergistic relationship. So this is one key piece in resolving your emotional eating. If you'd like to find out more about the Emotional Eating Evolution program with the 2 other key areas that are important aside from true nourishment, which are body acceptance and emotional wellness, you can find out more about the Emotional Eating Evolution program below. This is a step-by-step process and methodology. The program is full of lots of support and accountability and in-depth somatic meditation sessions in a 12-week container so that you can resolve your emotional eating from the root. So find out more at the link below. If you have any questions, please let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.